welcome back. So, this is where we left off last time. We were implementing this, the ability to write text on the screen, pulling the font out of the tile set and creating a UI element for the label that can be directly bound to our data, the player data in this case, so that it'll update itself as the player moves around the screen. And today we're going to implement another UI element. I want to make a button that we can click. If we get that done quickly enough, we might implement a couple more UI elements. See if we can, and yeah, at some point we're going to have to structure this, structure the code a little bit better, because typically the way I assemble a game like this is like you have a collection of scenes. Like a menu scene, a gameplay scene, well, a main menu, like there are various kinds of menus throughout the game. And then each scene is composed of basically a background. Might have the game world on it. Might have a collection of entities that can move around. And then you also have a UI user interface layer on that scene, and then you should be able to switch between scenes without too much fuss. But let's start with buttons. See if we can stick a button there on the screen and get it to do some stuff. We're gonna have to draw a little tile picture for the left side of the button. Implement the code to be able to flip it horizontally or vertically as needed. And then we're going to draw a button and make it respond to mouse clicks. So, back in our image editor, we're going to put a little button sidebar thingy down here next to our mouse cursor, which should not be too hard. If I need to go further out than that. And the picture I'm drawing will hopefully make more sense once we start using it. Making sure it's symmetrical, like the top needs to line up with the bottom. And sorry, I'm trying to visualize it in my head what this is going to look like when I use it. Export as, wait, overwrite. That'll do. So there's our little icon we're going to turn into a button. Let's try drawing that. So, font text XY, you know, it's basically the same as a label, but with some extra bits on the sides. The color has to be different. This first number represents the black color. Let's make that let's make a blue button. We're not using the middle two colors, it's just black and white. basically we want this white part to become transparent. We want the black part to become blue. So I think we want it to be like that. Got the button chrome, and then you have the actual text. Now, what is the tile index for that little tile? Mouse cursor is 0.29, so the button edge must be at 129. Increment the x by 1, because it's right next to it. If this is x equals 0, this one is x equals 1. Huh. Yeah, we need to pass the tile set into this also. That's a lot of stuff to be passing in, but I'm just going to do it for now. Need to set the types for these things. Let me double check how I did that in this other file. Where did I put that? There. That's the syntax. Okay. That will give us the type hinting in the IDE, theoretically. Interesting, it was supposed to. Maybe the IDE hasn't caught up with us yet. Moving on. Got the tile offset. X, Y, and color. Then we want to start rendering the font at the X position of the button plus the tile set. Tile width. A lot of this type checking I'm doing would be easier if I just switched it all to TypeScript, but I'm feeling kind of stubborn right now. I just want to leave it all in JavaScript. I'll let you know later if I regret that. Probably won't matter. Alright, so that will render the left side of the button. Let's render the right side of the button. And for that, we need to know the length of the text. I'm going to pre-compute that so we don't have, I don't want to compute that string more than once. So you start with the X position of the button, add the width of the left border of the button, add the length of the text, and then that is where you're going to draw the right side of the button. And aside from that visual change, it's mostly going to look like another button, another label, or act like another label. So let's add that to the screen. Our UI elements, we're going to push a new button. Or not. Cannot read property undefined, tile set render. At font render, at button render. It's funny that the font is where it was dying. Excuse me. Tileset font text XY. Oh, did I throw the right parameters in there? Text XY color. Text XY colors. What is the text actually equal to? Interesting. Well, I kind of expected that to work. I wonder if we capitalized it. No? Okay. Just draw an X. Alright, what are we missing? Cannot read properties undefined, reading 3. Why are you reading a 3? Alright, we're gonna take all these things we're oh, the colors array. That's wrong. Should be using text colors. That makes sense now. Okay, so to start, but we need to change this back for 1. And I'm going to darken the background so it's a little more obvious what's going on. So it looks like we grabbed our mouse cursor icon instead of the button edge. And then we need the background of the text to match the background of the button. That should fix that. And then we need the right side to be like this icon here that needs to flip horizontally. So we need to build something to make that possible. So we're going to dig into our tile set renderer a little bit. So if you go into the Java code, we have these two bit flags, mirror X and mirror Y. And that gets passed into the tile renderer, and that's used to determine whether the tile should get flipped and how. We're going to duplicate that bit. The 0x right here, it says that this number is hexadecimal, it's base 16 instead of base 10 like normal numbers. It's a common thing to put bit flags in hexadecimal. Just it's a thing. It's a base 16 is a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to see what's going on when you have a whole pile of bit flags. Just run with it for now. So here's some Java code. Let's turn that into JavaScript. And yeah, I think that's all we actually need. So bits is going to be a combination of bit flags that can be used to flip the tile either horizontally or vertically. So that can no longer be constant because if we're mirroring Y, we need to do that. And if we're mirroring on X, we need to do this. I think. Let's test it. exporting those values from the tile set file, we need to actually re-import them here. Oh, what's the right format for this? I think like that. So if we come down here, the right side of the button needs to be flipped along the x-axis. So theoretically, what we need to do is that. But does it work? Bitmirror X is not defined. Did I not import it? I think I did not import it. But now it's imported. Oh, it's because of the way I'm handling these namespaces. If you want to be able to see it here, it's actually in System, Display, Bitmirror X. Well, that's funny. It looks like it rendered it. It did flip it, but it also scooted it over to the left. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. I need to think about how I'm going to handle that now. It is mirroring it, but then that same value is being copied down there. Just mingling. It's mingling the position that I'm going to draw at. Oh, just gotta think for a minute. Think. There's a lot of ways to solve the problem. I mean, one solution is to do the same thing that this Java code is doing. And I might actually copy a chunk of that. If we're going to do that, I'm going to rewrite some of these variables right quick. What was I using index for? Oh, right, it's the index into the tile. Oh, I'm about to make a mess. because this V is the actual pixel data, which then gets converted into a color here. Okay, let's try some stuff. YS is... No, I just don't feel good about this. Undo. Let's come back down here. Huh. Because it feels like what I need to do is just add another tile width to the XS variable to scoot it over to the right. X is not defined. Yeah, I probably just did that to myself. There we go. Didn't undo enough times there. Oh, that little thing's still right there. But now it's poking its head too high up. If we take that off, interesting. Let's multiply that by 2 and see where it lands. It's still not quite right. It's like I need to scoot it over by a portion of the tile. That's wrong. I think I'm calculating XS completely wrong. I'm copying that code from Java, and the Java tile renderer is doing something a lot different from what I'm doing. So X is the position we want to render to, and XD is the delta, the offset into the actual tile on screen. So let's say that starting from X, if we're mirroring the X position, we might want to do that. Oh, that's a lot better. It's still a little bit too far over, but offset of -1 makes sense. Okay, cool. One big happy button. Let's do the same thing up here with the Y, because it's going to be the same problem. that handles mirror X and mirror Y. I don't like how far out the little button image pokes. So let's fix that. I think we actually want it flush with this side, with the right side. Like that, I think. And reload. Yeah, that was too much. You see, it's all crammed up against the C there. We'll bring it back out a little bit. And then reload. I can live with that. Of course, we can't click it. That's the thing about buttons. If you can't click them, they're not buttons. They're just fancy labels. So, we're at a half hour. We got our button rendering. I think I'm going to hold off on making that button interactive until the next episode. So, look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining me.